Hello again, everyone. Just popping in for another little relaxation to share with you all. This time I thought we'd work with just a little bit of tuning in to resistance. Things at the moment are in a state of change, and we often resist change. We a little frightened by it. Takes us out of our comfort zone. But it often helps to cope with change if we notice the resistance and let go of that resistance, allowing ourselves to just be a little bit more accepting that things change. It's inevitable that change will happen. It's said to be the only permanent thing, change. So again, make yourself comfortable, give yourself time, settle in, take a few deep breaths. Lying down would be my recommended option, but if you've got a really comfortable chair that you can relax in, then that also will be fine. Have an eye bag or a blanket to put over you, even just a light blanket if it's quite warm. That helps to just give you that feeling of being nice and snug and safe and warm. Get rid of any possible interruptions, if possible, turning off phones, all of that stuff. Close your eyes and become aware of your breath. Without any sense of changing your breath, of making it better, of bringing about some kind of different breath. Just notice. Like everything else, your breath changes. It changes over the course of your day. It changes depending on what activity you're doing. And by being interested and curious and listening to this coming and going of the breath, you might just take some time to reflect on what you've done up to this point in your day and how that may have affected the flow of breath. For a relaxation practice such as this, the breath that we're looking for is one that is deep and slow and steady, fairly regular. That doesn't mean you need to work towards those things. Those things will just happen as you relax, and you might already have noticed that process beginning, that change happening. When you stop physical activity, when you allow your body to lay down and rest, when you bring your mind into a state preparing for rest, then this triggers those changes. They will happen automatically. There's no work for you to do here around this. Notice as you breathe if there is any resistance in your breath. Notice your body moving with the flow of breath and whether there are any places that have less movement. And this can happen as a result of physical tension. It can happen as a result of habitual breathing patterns. It can happen because of our activity levels. So the first thing we're going to work with today is just allowing yourself to let go of that resistance, allowing the breath to flow more fully, more deeply. Just think of each breath coming in and washing away that resistance. So you may have found resistance in the upper chest region across the shoulders. As you breathe in, think of breathing in and feeling that breath expanding into this area. And as you breathe out the shoulders, just surrender that resistance and become a little more open to receive the next inhalation. You might find the resistance in the belly. There might be tension there might be emotional holding. Just notice whether you're belly is moving with the breath and what degree of movement there is, and invite a bit more space for that breath to come and go through the abdominal region. Letting go of the resistance. In the mid-chest area there could be resistance as well. The rib cage might be sort of held. There might be some tension through those intercostal muscles between the ribs, a sense of having to hold yourself in, which is a really normal, habitual kind of reaction to when we become stressed or to when there's change. We sort of brace ourselves to prepare for it. In this situation though, holding that resistance and bracing ourselves is not going to be helpful. There's nothing we can run away from here. We need to actually, rather than prime ourselves for action, do the opposite and allow ourselves to stay home, to rest, to unwind. The opposite of what our stress response primes us for. So if you do become aware of that resistance through the chest, of any holding in, then again just invite space through the ribs, through the upper back region, through the front of the chest where the sternum is. Feeling that area opening and expanding on the in-breath, softening and releasing on the out-breath. Feeling that resistance just melting away. Allowing yourself to settle. And slowly, very slowly expanding this awareness. Although the physical breath only travels sort of into the torso, we're going to have a sense of that energy of the breath, the prana, the energy the breath is bringing in, being carried ever further out. So every in-breath, think of that breath traveling a little further until the whole torso is filled. The tops of the shoulders, the back of the pelvis, the base of the pelvis, the fronts of the shoulders. Feel that whole region having a sense of expansion and release, melting away any resistance, any tension, any holding through this area. And then let that travel further out still into the upper arms, down into the thighs, up into the neck. Each breath traveling a little further than the last. Washing away a little more of that resistance. Moving into these muscles in the thighs and the upper arms. These big muscles that can hold on to lots of tension and resistance, and that get primed when we do become stressed, that get tense automatically. Let yourself consciously release that tension. Allow those muscles to just soften, create a sense of ease, moving down into the joints of the elbows and the knees. Let those joints be spacious. Down a little further through the calves, through the forearms, up into the jaw region. Continuing this practice, continuing this softness, continuing this surrender. Bringing yourself into a state of relaxation, of letting go, of melting away resistance. And noticing where the resistance is, acknowledging it, recognizing it. Don't think, oh, this is terrible, I'm so tense through my shoulders, or I've got so much in my jaw, or whatever it is that you find. Really be interested. This is your body's way of trying to protect you. These sort of primal reflexes that our body has are not built for this situation. So it's not a bad thing. It's not wrong. We just have to help evolve a little further into the current situation where this isn't what's needed. What we need to do is this practice. What we need to do is soften. What we need to do is rest. To take advantage of this opportunity where we're staying home and we're not as busy as usual. And to let that opportunity help us to rebuild, to rejuvenate through the body. And we'll work on into the mind and the emotions a little later. Let that spread further down into the ankles and the feet and the toes, into the wrists and the hands and the fingers, up through the eyes, across the brow, finding the tension, finding the resistance, telling yourself, telling your body, this is not necessary, we don't need this. Let it go. We're okay. There might be areas that resist this practice, and that's normal too. Just be gentle with those places. Just keep coming back to them every now and then, revisiting them, reassuring them they don't need to hold on. They can let go. It might take more than one of these practices, these relaxations. It might take a week for them to let go, but just gently work, reminding, resting, acknowledging why those places are holding on, why it's hard for them to let go. Being kind to yourself, to your body. And after a while, by this stage, the whole body is a part of this practice. The whole body is breathing. The whole body is letting go of resistance. The whole body is supported, safe, warm, comfortable. All that physical resistance just melting away, dissolving, releasing. And from that physical resistance, we're moving now into mental resistance. And this is something that sometimes is even stronger and harder to budge than that physical tension. So we might have experiences in times like this where there's thoughts going round, lots of anxiety, lots of worry, lots of what if, lots of uncertainty, and with it the associated emotions of fear, of worry. So we're going to work with the mind and the heart together for this practice to recognize the resistance, find where it's coming from, and just as we did with the body, when we find it, give it permission to let go. Allow it to know that there's no point worrying about the what ifs. We'll deal with things if and when they happen. So just take some time to notice what the thoughts are, what the feelings are here. And you'll probably be able to really connect those two things. I'm feeling like this because I'm thinking that. I'm feeling fearful because I'm worried about this. These thoughts are in my mind. recognize that just like the physical holding and stress in the body, this is our body's way of trying to protect us, trying to prepare us for what might happen. It's not a bad thing. It's just not what we need right now. So we're working more to find a new path, to find new thought patterns. Invite in some kinder thoughts, some more open thoughts, thinking about this as an opportunity rather than as a restriction. Thinking about this staying home and not going out and isolation as being a time to get to know yourself, to let go of the busyness that has been part of our lives up until this. And often our identity is very tied up with that, what we do, our work or our lifestyle. We see that as who we are, and when we don't have that, then it can be quite threatening, it can be quite scary. So it's normal for us to resist that. But know that you are much more than your job, much more than your day-to-day existence. Take this as an opportunity to notice that, to check in with that, to say hi. Who am I beneath all those layers of busyness? Get to know me. Spend some time just noticing the thoughts, seeing how you can kind of rewire that thinking. So if there is a thought of what would happen if I got sick, then just recognize, right now I'm not sick. Right now I'm in my home, I'm safe, I have food, I have what I need, I'm okay. If and when something happens, we deal with it at the time. And usually it's not nearly as bad as what we imagine it might have been in all of that worry and stress beforehand. So just let go of those thoughts of the what ifs and what would I do if and what will happen when. Recognize that they don't really help us here and now. Allow yourself to recognize and also let go of the emotions tied up with those thoughts. Notice that the thoughts might be about resisting change, and invite a little bit of a what if I could embrace change? What if change is a good thing? What if this change is for the better in the long run? You can work with this for as long as feels right for you. I'm going to wind up now, but feel free to stay here and stay with the practice. If it's time for you to finish as well, or when you are ready to finish, be very gentle with yourself when you come out of the practice. Don't rush into anything. Continue to be gentle and kind to yourself and to others throughout your day. And I will be back. I'll talk to you then. Stay safe, love and light. Namaste.